This podcast is brought to you by Boger Cabinetry and by Paramount Plus.
The Final Frontier podcast. These are the voyages of Jake Boger and Justin Spur. Our weekly mission to explore memories of Star Trek's strange new worlds, to recall the search for new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has had the spare time to go before. Welcome, everybody, to the Final Frontier podcast. Don't know why my brain. I must have been scanned by. I must have been scanned by Nomad. Anyway,
Nomad.
hopefully you're having a wonderful evening, which you're joining us, so you're about to, regardless. But we are talking about Star Trek, the original series, season 2, episode 3, The Changeling. If you had not guessed by my name drop of Nomad, but maybe you haven't seen the episode yet, so we're glad you're here. This podcast tonight is brought to you by our friends at Boger Cabinetry and, of course, Paramount Plus. This episode takes place during Stardate 3541.9. The in-universe date is still the year 2267, and the original air date for this episode was September 29th, 1967. And this episode was written by John Meredith Lucas and directed by our friend Mark with a C. Daniels.
Ooh, that's an unfortunate middle name.
It's just Mark Daniels, but it's Mark with a C, so it's French Mark.
Well, I meant middle name Meredith. There's
Meredith,
no way.
yeah.
There's no way the kids knew his middle name was Meredith.
It's even spelled with a Y. Meredith.
Okay, that could be like Gaelic or Scottish, and like I'm thinking Meredith like with an I, so like it's a female name.
Oh no, that's true. Yeah, maybe it is. Meredith.
Meredith.
Maybe that's Scotty's middle name. Montgomery Meredith Scott.
Maybe. I got a Gaelic name at work the other day, and I was like, oh, that looks Gaelic.
Really? What was the name?
Yeah, Gale. It was Gayle. Yeah. Oh, it's gay. No, it was sorry, it was pronounced Gaily. Because I was
Oh,
like, oh, I wonder if she is.
that's right up there with Shillelagh.
Yeah. I thought it was. She said Gaelic. I was thinking it was Welsh because it looked Welsh.
I mean, Welsh is not Gaelic, but I mean,
Same part of the world. Yeah.
similar linguistic roots, I would guess.
Yeah.
But anyway,
The description, which was about.
you're talking, of course, about the Paramount Plus description brought to you by Paramount Plus.
As brought to you by Paramount Plus, yes. The probe sent from Earth, which wants to sterilize all life. And my notes are, what did all life do to this probe? And I said it's not very pro-life of them.
Well, it was
And then
dirty, you see.
and then just move Earth. Move. Once again, the Earth
To be
move.
fair, the Earth didn't send the probe out that way.
I mean, that is true.
The probe
That is true.
became that way through its own life experience and poor decisions on its part. You cannot blame Earth for the way
Nature
this probe
versus
turned out.
nurture. Yeah, I mean, I'm
Well,
just saying,
then this episode would have you believe that it's no nature, all nurture.
it met the wrong boy. It got under the influence.
It
Yeah,
met the wrong other probe.
yeah.
It was an alien probe too.
And
So
they merged.
they
You don't
merged
want
and
you don't want an interspecies merging when it comes to your probes. It's
not probes. People, it's fine, but not probes.
not probes.
That
No,
becomes
people, it's totally
problematic.
fine. Totally fine.
This episode's story begins with the Enterprise investigating a distress call from the Malurian star system. On arrival, Spock reports no life readings from any of the 4 billion inhabitants of the 4 planets, despite otherwise normal recent communications. Fun trivia fact: the Star Trek Enterprise episode "Civilization" used the Malurians as the antagonists, as a direct reference to this episode.
Oh, so that episode tried to be like they deserve it.
Don't think they intended it that way, but you know what? I'm not gonna lie. I think that might have been I think that might have been what happened. The ship's shields are suddenly activated when a meter-long cylindrical object attacks with a powerful energy bolt equivalent to 90 photon torpedoes. So when I was watching this scene, and I don't remember who I think Scotty says is like Scotty or Spock say we can only take three more of those hits, and I'm like, what? Wait, whoa, hang on. You're telling me the Enterprise, because yes, I did the math. I said you're telling me the Enterprise can take 270 torpedo hits?
It's a lot of
What were
torpedo hits,
what were they afraid of in every engagement up to this point?
right?
It's
It
like
just seems like we could only take 4 or 5 more hits.
I was gonna say they're freaking out
All
over two
right.
torpedoes, and Kirk should have just been, that's okay. We got 268 more. More coffee,
Seems like
please.
a more coffee. Okay, so opening of this episode, several questions. Number one, they mentioned a census. Nothing more valuable than a census. You want to get all your numbers and your data down correct. That's an accurate census. Very important. Number two, that the thing that Spock is holding with the pen. So is that the first tablet stylus combo?
It's not the first one, but it's probably one of the more prominent ones up to this point.
What is the deal with the sticky notes that Kirk is holding just randomly?
Those aren't sticky notes, those are discs.
Oh, he was just holding. I'm just like, why is he just holding these green things? They look like sticky notes
Or
from.
they called them tapes actually, because if memory serves, I don't think a disc had been invented yet. But what's interesting
Oh,
though is those actually appear to be less like a floppy disk and more like a data cartridge, like similar to what your video games would become.
oh,
So
interesting. That is
it's
interesting.
it's much more reminiscent to flash memory, which wasn't even thought of yet, or at least not,
Yeah.
certainly not commercially. It might have been a thing that was at least
It,
theoretically
in
thought about.
description, it reminds me of flash drives.
That's they behave that way.
Oh,
That's
interesting. Oh, how
essentially that's
interesting.
essentially what they are, because they're less like a floppy disk, which I don't think
Huh.
had been invented yet, or at least not the the smaller ones. I think they were bigger if they had them.
Huh.
But they called them
Um,
tapes because a lot of that data was actually still on tape or cards of some
really?
kind. That was, yeah,
Huh.
wild. It's
Wow.
fun.
That's why I love Star Trek. And then the green ship as it appears. I said, is that the Lochnar? Is that a reference that people get? I was impressed. I didn't have to Google it. That's just my note. Just says I'm impressed with myself that I didn't have to Google that because I went. It looks like from heavy metal. The what's it called? The Lochnar. It looks like the Lochnar. And then yeah, I went. I don't think people get a heavy metal reference.
Are you talking about Heavy Metal or the Heavy Metal 2000?
Heavy metal, the original one.
I have not seen the original one. I've only seen the
You've
Heavy Metal
never seen
2000.
the original heavy
No, I
metal?
haven't.
Oh, you're missing out.
So,
That is
okay, I've wondered
solid
this.
schlock.
I've wondered this for a long time. Is Heavy Metal 2000 just a remake or is it a different story?
It's a different story. So, this is a real heavy metal itself is based off of a magazine called Heavy Metal.
That I do
And
know.
so the first movie is a anthology, not an anthology,
It's an
but like it's a
anthology. I thought
yeah,
that. Yeah.
anthology, yeah, yeah. Of a bunch of short stories that are from that magazine. And
Hmm.
the one Heavy Metal 2000 is also based off of one of those stories, but it's just longer. So it's
It's a
one
different
story
story.
as opposed to it's also way worse. The first one's
Really?
actually good. Yeah, yeah. I
Huh.
mean, that's not to say that it's good. It's like it's schlock, but it's like it's good schlock. Like it's well animated schlock. If you like your cartoons with nudity, it's also fun. But yeah, yeah, it looks the Lochnar is the antagonist from that movie. It's like a green sphere.
Gotcha. So here's a
They reference it in Heavy Metal 2000, but you never actually see it.
okay. That's why I didn't get that reference, because I was like, I've seen Heavy Metal 2000. I wonder if he's talking about the original. But anyway, here's another fun fact for you. So when I was in my early teens, like 13, 14, I got into a strange habit of collecting weapons, but I didn't know anything about them. So I was buying like the POS, like made from terrible, terrible metal quality. But a lot of these were prop replicas. And I bought one sword in particular because it was really cool looking. It had spikes in the guard, and it was like a not serrated blade, but it was an interesting shape, and it had a spike on the end of the pommel. So it was a cool looking sword. Then, like, a year or two later, I just so randomly happened because when I stayed with my dad, he had the premium movie channels like Cinemax and HBO and,
The fun ones.
the fun ones that showed good movies that were unedited. Well, I randomly watched Heavy Metal 2000, but lo and behold, Julie ends up with the sword that looks exactly like the one I have. And I'm like, oh, I inadvertently bought a prop replica of the sword that Julie uses in Heavy Metal 2000.
That's so funny. Yeah, that one's not nearly as good as the first one. The first one's an on like the soundtrack in the first one just kicks ass. It's honestly it's one of my favorite movies. I watched it for my other show.
See, I need to
Totally
watch
recommend
it.
it.
I need to watch it. Yeah,
Um,
because it seems. Now, was that from Bakshi Studios or
I don't think so. I think it was animated by a Canadian animation company, from what I recall. It's like it's nothing anyone knows. But yeah, there's it's I think it's like one of Eugene. I think it's Eugene Levy is in it
I
as
think you're
like
yeah, I think you're
in one of
right.
his first movies. He's in it as a character that's essentially proto Zap Brannigan. It's basically what the character is. It's really solid. It's really solid. Yeah, all of the vignettes are good. All of them are good. They're all good. And then oh yeah, another question. The Enterprise uses the metric system.
Yeah, we've established that
How we established
already.
that
Yeah.
already? Did I already
Well,
make the
the
McCurk of that?
scientific community has used the metric system pretty much since it's been invented.
Really? Oh.
It just makes sense. Oh yeah, our even in the States, the scientific community uses.
So you're just a stubborn country that just insists on using a system called the imperial system because it's just ironic, just for the irony of it.
No, because if we changed, I'm convinced this is the reason why. If we changed completely over to the metric system, we would have to redo every football field in America, and that is no small task.
That's funny. That that's funny. That is such a valid and believable reason. But that's
It's
funny.
only half of a joke.
It's believable.
Well, but can you
Um,
imagine? And I'm saying this as an Alabama football fan. I cannot imagine them be like, all right, and that was a 3 meter gain. How long is 3 meters again? I don't know. It's close to 3 yards, give or take.
Hey, I'll admit, I say pounds, and if we use metric, I refuse to say kilograms. So like, I measure everything in pounds, so I get it.
Yeah,
Um,
Canada's kind of like Canada and the UK are too, you're less defiant than us, but
you would think us being the imperial country, we would use the imperial system, but even the
well,
country that
you did
has
at
a
one point.
monarch doesn't use the imperial system anymore.
You did at one point. That's
We
why
did
it's
at one
called the
point, hence the
imperial
name, the
system. Yeah,
imperial. And then, okay, another question: problematical, is that a word?
it is now.
It is now. Scotty made it a word. And then just several that's what she said in regards to the ship. That's what she said. And then Mr. Scott, it's not the size of the vessel, but rather the motion of the ocean.
That's what she said.
That's my joke. Damn it, Dwight.
Or in this
Scott,
case, space.
well, and Scotty strikes me as a gentleman that doesn't really mind a little bit of extra, how we say this, a little extra bulkhead space, if you
That's what
know
I'm
what I
saying.
mean.
But
You
what
know
I'm
what I
saying
mean.
is they were like the ship is very small, and Scotty was like, oh, it's bad then. And I'm just saying, Mr. Scott, size isn't everything when it comes to spaceships and space.
I think it depends. But speaking of Scotty, this is also the first use of his famous "I'm giving her all she's got."
That's what she said.
Although I
Is
should
it
say,
actually? Oh,
yeah,
I
he
completely
says
missed
giving
that.
them. He actually says giving them all we've got, but it's close enough.
That's fu See, I must have missed that in my attempts to write a series of jokes.
Well, sitting down to write a series of jokes will distract you like that.
It does, yeah. Yeah, it does.
I
Oh
mean,
no.
they're just right there. You can't look at anything else.
It's gonna be one of those weeks, everyone.
To be fair, it's season two. You know what we're about.
Yeah, you know what this is.
Captain Kirk orders return fire, but his weapon's energy is simply absorbed by the object. After more incoming attacks, and on the verge of his ship's destruction, Kirk hails the object. After several back and forth attempts, the object requests in person communication and allows itself to be beamed aboard the ship. So I was having a conniption fit during that whole trying to decode the message sort of thing. So I have a couple notes on that. the first thing I realized, and I don't know why it took me this long to, and maybe we talked about it before, but I don't know, it popped into my head. I just realized that Spock and Uhura are both using wireless earbuds
Oh yeah, the thing that they put in their
in
ear.
a time where wireless audio technology did not exist.
I've never really thought of that. You're right. I think the reason being is because every time Spock puts it in his ears, it becomes immediately noticeable that they're prosthetic ears and it looks silly. So like, my brain just doesn't, yeah, has never put together the external technology thing where I'm just like, it looks silly. But yeah, you're right. That is a valid point.
So it's probably not Bluetooth. It's probably a much better technology because you would think that unless they have improved the technology to the point where, like today, there's no dispute. I don't care what anybody says. Wired is better. Wired is
Yes.
better.
Just in terms of audio quality, absolutely. In terms of convenience, nah, man, I hate wires. But like,
No, but if you're doing something where you need it can't get disrupted. There can't be a dead battery. There can't
yeah,
be
I
anything.
mean, I'm using wired, so like,
It's better. But clearly, the technology has improved to the point where Starfleet issues these. But the part that really was grinding my gears is that surely of the two people, and probably more people, I would think Kirk and Scotty would be among them. But surely, at minimum, both Spock and Uhura would know binary code.
yeah, you're right. I mean, at the very least, Spock.
At the very least Spock. But I mean, Uhura has already demonstrated that she, Kirk, and Spock understand Morse code. And I know that's not binary, but like it's similar, at least the binary
Similar.
alphabet. This
Yeah,
is a thing that has existed for quite a while. You would think at least Uhura and certainly Spock. So
certainly Spock.
why did they not, once they realized it was binary code, why did they not just try to transmit a message in binary code instead of waiting, being like, I don't know what we're going to do? It's communicating in a language that we clearly should be able to understand, but we're just going to wait. We're just going to wait and
Let's see
see.
how this plays out. Let's see how this
Yeah,
plays
we're just going
out.
to see how this plays out. And then the other note I had is as often as Spock gets pulled away from his station, their backup science guy must be amazing.
Right? Jerry, the backup science guy. Jerry, get in here. Stand here while I do this thing.
So when we do our Star Trek night shift series, there's only one person we can get to play the backup science guy.
All right, I'm listening.
It's got to be Bill Nye.
Ah, yeah. No, you're right. No,
It's
yeah, you're
got to
right.
be.
Yeah, and then every time he enters, he's got to play the theme song. Like it has to be Bill
Better
Nye.
actually. Oh yeah, it has to be Bill Nye. And whenever there's a science question, there have to be four people saying Bill. So it has to be like Bill, 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 Bill.
Yes, yes, I agree.
It's a
I
millennial joke.
agree.
So here's another thing I think we should do
I mean,
for our
certainly
Star
at
Trek.
this point in the episode, they've heard the theme song, right? At least a little bit
one
of a snippet of it.
one would think, but that's the point of a meta joke. Is it's not a joke in universe. It's just for you. But
It's
here's
just for me.
another
It's just
thing
for
we
me.
have to do: the historian officer or the ship's librarian, rather. The ship's librarian must be played by a sentient Jack Russell Terrier.
I'm for this. I'm for this. I'm immediately for this.
I'm telling you,
Wait,
we got to
was
get in touch. We got to get in touch with Rose from Give Us Mo Entertainment. We got to make this happen, Rose.
we're gonna make it happen.
You're
Was
already
was
shooting. You're already shooting on the same lot. Like, let's make
ra
this a
ra
thing.
random thought, quasi related because it's PBS adjacent. Was LeVar Burton on Star Trek and Reading Rainbow at the same time?
I believe he was, as a matter of
Oh,
fact.
okay. I always wondered that. Like, oh, he's doing Reading Rainbow in the morning, and then at night he's doing Star Trek.
I imagine they shot at different times of the year, but I mean, maybe. Reading
I
Rainbow,
saw
I
they
wouldn't think is a show that takes up a ton of time.
I honestly don't know. They're bringing it back, and the guy they
I
have hosting it,
saw
I'm
that.
like, good for him. I actually knew him before that. I was like, good for him. He deserves this. He seems nice.
Wait, LeVar Burton's not hosting the new one?
No, it's his name. Oh, I forget his name, but he's something the librarian. He was like a TikTok guy,
Oh,
very
okay. Well, that's
very
cool.
like similar in terms of tone and approach to like a like a Mr. Rogers, Miss Rachel, that kind of like interaction with kids,
That's
kind
cool.
of. Yeah, yeah.
I
I
saw
was
it and
like
I thought
excited for him. I was
LeVar
like,
Burton.
good for him.
I just thought LeVar Burton was gonna Well, that's cool. I can LeVar Burton strikes me as the kind of guy that would step aside and be like, no, this really needs to be.
For all I know, he's involved. I didn't look into
Oh,
it, as
I
I'm
guarantee
not in
you
the target.
he's some kind of producer. I guarantee you, because
For
LeVar
sure.
Burton's been outspoken for his love of that show.
I mean, I'm a big fan. I grew up, so
Oh, dude, I love
yeah.
reading Rainbow.
But I think I agree. We gotta get that Jack Russell as because when you were like the librarian, I went, oh, but the librarian should be LeVar Burton, and then you went Jack Russell
Ooh.
Terrier, and I went, oh, but that's such a valid point.
Well, LeVar Burton has to
Maybe
be, but they
LeVar Burton
should.
has a Jack. Maybe him and the sentient Jack Russell Terrier work together.
Well, no. So here's the thing. So LeVar Burton is the daytime librarian, but the Jack Russell can
Ooh,
handle the demands of the night crew. Because
there
the
we go.
Jack Russell
That's
didn't go to university; he's self-taught.
fair. That's fair. Yeah, yeah. I
Look
like
at
it.
us,
I like
world
it.
building,
Ah, look, hey, it's a
and we can we
solid
can we
concept
can
that
have
everyone agrees is good.
great scenes at shift change time where LeVar Burton is arguing with a Jack Russell Terrier about which author is better. That'd be
But
hilarious.
oh no, see, we said this was taking place during the original series, so this is well before George. I'm kind of like I feel like he needs a connection to maybe he's like Geordie LaForge's like grandpa or
Oh, sure,
like
you can absolutely do that. Absolutely. And he can have poor eyesight.
yeah, I like that.
He
I
can
like
wear
it. I like
glasses.
it. Make it so number one.
All right, jot that in the note of ideas and moving on.
Right.
Our friend Lieutenant Leslie is back in this episode. He has two unusual aspects in this episode. One is that he appears at the helm alongside our beloved Mr. Sulu, and he's wearing a gold uniform as opposed to his normal red uniform that he's usually seen.
Yeah, I did
Although
notice that was weird looking.
Yeah, although I think he's been in every color up to this point, has he not?
Has he been in
I feel
blue?
like I don't know that he's been in blue, but I'm pretty sure we've seen him in gold. Oh no, we saw him in gold here. Never
Yeah,
mind.
gold and reds. Yeah, I don't know how. I don't think we've seen him in
I
blue
feel
yet.
like we may have seen the actor in blue, but not as Lieutenant
Not
Leslie,
the character. Yes,
not
this
the
is true. That is
character.
possible.
But yeah, I'm starting to have Leslie is very quickly becoming like the Where's Waldo of Star Trek. Because now I
There he
recognize
is.
him, and now I'm like, there he is.
There he is.
The
Get that man
object.
in a red shirt. I'm kidding.
Get that in the red shirt. The object identifies itself as Nomad and refers to Captain Kirk as the Creator. Spock reports that a Nomad space probe was launched from Earth during the early 21st century. Its mission was to explore the galaxy and seek out new life. Sounds familiar. But it had been reported destroyed, a report that Spock acknowledges may have been wrong. So, Justin, you may be asking yourself, was there an actual Nomad probe that was sent out in the early 2000s?
I was asking that.
Well, if you consider 2016 the early 2000s and use the word probe loosely, then
Liberally?
liberally, yes. Oh, there was in fact a Nomad probe sent out, but it wasn't a deep space probe. The ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter Nomad is a scientific instrument aboard the European Space Agency's ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter. It was launched in 2016 and has been conducting its science mission orbiting Mars to study the Martian atmosphere.
Huh.
So you would have thought, though, that if they launched a probe in 2002, that they would have named it Nomad, but clearly at the time there weren't enough Star Trek fans at
Not
NASA.
nearly enough Star Trek fans in NASA, which feels wrong. Feels like
Well,
every NASA person should be a Star Trek fan.
I mean, kinda. It's why a
We're
lot of
going to
people get
space.
involved in NASA.
It's like the two things you should be into if you're going to be at NASA is Star Trek and Star Wars because it involves
Maybe
space.
at that time there were just a lot of Battlestar Galactica fans.
I mean, Project Death Star and whatnot.
Oh, they were Star Wars fans? That explains a lot.
I would like to think there's like a fair balance of both. Like some of them are Star Wars, some of them are Star Trek.
Yeah, but Star Wars is like the stuff they watch when they want to turn their brain off,
This is true.
or at
But
least it
also
should
could be
be.
debated that there isn't enough Star Trek fans in NASA because then we would have gone to space more.
Like I said, it might explain a lot.
This week only, rock bottom pricing at Boger Cabinetry. That's an additional 20% off our already unbelievable pricing to transform your kitchen, bath, or office. If you need cabinets, you need Boger Cabinetry. Get inspired at bogercabinetry.com.
Fuck. Okay, so we gotta talk about Nomad. We got to Nomad. Has Nomad appeared? Have we seen Nomad? Is he about to appear?
Yes, yes. Nomad has beamed
Okay,
aboard the ship.
he has beamed aboard the ship. So Nomad, my God, I don't. Okay, Nomad reminded me of just a ton of things. Number one, when he first shows up, did Nomad try to gaslight Kirk into thinking that the ship was bigger than it was? Like they were like, it's really, really small, and then Kirk was like, "Your ship is small. We can't beam aboard it." And Nomad's like, "No, it isn't. No, but it is." They measure. No, it's not small. You can totally come about it, but I'm gonna come aboard your ship anyway because of reasons. It just kind of seemed like he was trying to gaslight Kirk.
A
Also,
little bit.
just aesthetically, from a design standpoint, I thought Nomad was boring.
Yes, but remember, it's 1967.
19, okay, but he reminded me a lot of a number of things. He reminded me of HAL 9000.
This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.
He reminded me of. So you don't watch Doctor Who, but perhaps it's culturally significant enough that you would know. Do you know what a Dalek is?
I feel like I've heard the word, but I don't recall. I
It
can't.
there's a lot of moments in this episode where just Google Daleks later. Where it's zapping people. Like the Daleks have a catchphrase exterminate, where they zap people with their little plunger.
Then what should I do?
All right then. If you want orders, follow this one. Kill yourself.
The Daleks must survive!
The Daleks have failed! Why don't you finish the job and make the Daleks extinct? Rid the universe of your filth! Why don't you just die?
You would make a good Dalek.
That's what this reminded me of, and it just. What year offhand? Do you know the year? Space Odyssey. Oh my God, 2001: A
2001: A
Space
Space
Odyssey came
Odyssey.
out.
1980 something.
Is it? I
Maybe,
thought it was
maybe,
60s.
maybe no. It's later than that, but I think it might have been 70s. But hang on, we'll look because it's
Because I was
Kubrick.
Kubrick, right? Yeah. For
Yeah.
some reason I thought it
Oh
was
no, no,
64.
I'm wrong. 1968.
Oh, 68. Okay. And
Yep.
what year did we say what year this came out?
1967. So I think what you mean to say is a lot of things remind you of Nomad, but you previously had no knowledge of Nomad. And the only reason I'm being a
Yeah.
stickler for temporal grammar is because that's going to come up later in this episode. Stay tuned to find out where. You'll know it when you hear it.
Okay, so Kubrick could have taken and well that was my question was did HAL 9000 or because there's a lot of things
I'm
in this
sure.
that were
I'm
really
sure.
tropey to me that I'm
Well,
like,
but
is this the originator of the trope?
no, because this concept was even kind of sort of stolen.
Interesting. That's very
I
interesting.
mean, realistically, you could make the case that this goes back to the movie Metropolis, which was made in the 30s.
Right. I forgot
But
about Metropolis.
that was more of a
Yeah.
golem. Less, I mean, it was a
Um,
machine, but it was more of a golem. Which, by the way, watch Metropolis. It's kind of a mind bender to watch it now.
it's on my list. It's one of those ones I will probably find a reason to watch it
Well, and
on
then
the
they tried
other
to.
show.
I can't. They remade it? Correct.
That I cannot say, but I've heard of it. Um,
I'm just over here like, why would? Oh, I'm even wrong. 1927. Wow,
yeah, it's
1927.
like one of the first science fiction movies. Yeah, I've heard of it. It's like an
Good old,
icon of cinema.
yeah, good old Fritz Lang, Fritz Lang.
Um, I feel like okay, so I feel like I've asked this question before, but I'm gonna ask it again. Do they not have robots in Star Trek yet?
No, I don't. Well, no, that of course they do. We've seen them, the androids.
But but I mean like those are androids, but this is like a droid, like a
Yeah,
robot.
like a
Like
robot.
yeah,
One would think,
you
but
would assume, right?
it is kind of a sideways. Oh, I'm trying to think. Like I really don't
The
think we've
reason
seen
I
one.
ask, while you're thinking, the reason why I ask is because a lot of their reaction to Nomad indicated to me that they had never seen a robot before.
Yeah, that's a good point. But to be fair, Dr. McCoy's always kind of had a distrust of technology, and this is a.
Um,
I'm not even gonna say it's sentient. It's not a sentient machine.
no,
I
it's
will make that
but
distinction.
Yeah, true. It's not, but it is, but it's not. It is operating by pro. It reminded me a lot of a Star Wars droid. Like it really did remind me a lot
Well,
of
but
a
even
Star
they
Wars
have
droid.
more autonomy and capacity to learn, whereas
That is also
this
fair.
thing can take in information, but it cannot learn in the sense that like a human can.
Oh, sorry. One more note. I thought at this juncture that it was going to involve, although does the Turing test exist at this point? No, no, we talked about the Turing test for the Android episode, didn't we? Did we talk about the Turing test for that episode?
I thought so, but my memory banks have been erased somehow.
I thought maybe that this was going to become a case of the Turing test again, and it was not.
No, it's a very different. Yeah, it's funny. They didn't really because it didn't have a face. They didn't really explore the potential humanity of it all.
No, not really.
I think that's the key. I think that's when robots get really scary is when you give it a face.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
It
that's the
it did remind me of a lot of modern, like there was parallels to things from the not modern, but certainly from the 80s that this definitely reminded me of. But we'll get there. We'll get there.
the current Nomad has mistaken Kirk for Dr. Jackson Roy Kirk, the scientist who created and programmed the original probe. As the critical drinker would say, "Wow, that was lucky."
Right? Somebody was like, "You're the Kirk," and I'm like, "Yeah, he is."
I'm sorry, what's the Kirk? It's like,
Yeah.
really?
You're
Like
the Kirk.
this
Yeah,
is a
he is.
story beat that would not be permitted today because audience would just be like, okay.
Do you think? Look, we've already made. Do you think Kirk calls it the Kirk?
No, I think he calls it Captain.
It's funny because it's believable. Oh no.
Captain, I'm
What?
running low on auxiliary power. I'm giving her all she's got.
That's what she said. That's what she said. That's what she said.
What have I wrought? I need you to know, Jake. There's a bunch more jokes coming. Just so you know. Just so you're aware.
I'm proud of that.
You should be.
And another fun fact: director Mark Daniels appears as Roy Kirk in the photograph, and he's actually
Huh?
wearing Scotty's dress uniform.
Did you say Mark Daniels?
Mark Daniels, yeah, Mark with a
Any
C.
any relation to
Daniels.
Greg Daniels, the guy who created The Office?
I doubt it. That's a pretty.
No,
I
television and movie film tend to be a family thing, so it wouldn't surprise me if there was some relation. But also wouldn't surprise me if there wasn't. It was just a coincidence.
feel like
It's a
we've
common
asked that
last name.
question about somebody else on this show too, and it was like, no, there is no relation. It's a happy accident.
Just a happy accident.
Nomad's new mission is to seek out and eliminate any biological infestation that it deems imperfect, including the entire population of the Malurian star system. Nomad states that its attempt to destroy the Enterprise had not been necessary since the Creator was aboard.
We're gonna start with okay. Number one, it just kind of sounds like they created a genocide machine.
Well, but they didn't. That's the thing. So its original programming was to seek out new life, but then it collided. Oh no, we have
Right, but
not
we don't
gotten.
know that yet. We
That's
don't know
right. We
that quite
haven't.
yet.
Yeah, that's correct. But they
So, Fred,
alluded to that it was sent out to uh discover new life, not
this is
destroy
true.
it.
But what was interesting to me is, and I feel like I've asked this question of Star Trek before, but the background it sort of sounded like he wanted to create AI, like he was trying to create AI, like
I
an
mean,
AI.
but what is an android, right? I mean, what is
What
a
is
droid?
artificial intelligence?
Yeah, what
Yeah,
is a
yeah.
robot, you know?
It depends. If you're talking about was it the
Like an
Hebrew word? It
Asimov.
technically means slave.
I'm talking like an Asimov robot, but solid etymological touche.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. What is interesting again? It was interesting that they called it a probe. They never identified it as a robot, and I every time I see that I go, okay, where was science fiction in the 1960s? And again, we definitely talked about Asimov when we talked about the androids. I was like, he was around. I think we discovered he was around at this point. So I'm like, the
Yeah,
fact that
Asimov was
they don't
writing in the
immediately go,
50s.
he's a robot is interesting to me because he's definitely a robot. Um.
I mean, it's an intelligent
Uh.
probe. That would definitionally be a robot. Now's the point where you're going to buckle up and set your phasers to fun because this gets good. This gets real good. Left in the care of a crew member, Nomad escapes to investigate the sound of Lieutenant Uhura singing, which it detects over the intercom. And I immediately thought, is Nomad going to try to eliminate Uhura for singing off key?
Look, you know me, forever the left leading guy. I immediately went, it's a little weird that Kirk left the only one of the few crew members of color behind to be obviously murdered by the robot. But you know what? I'm sure it's a coincidence. I'm sure it's a coincidence. Also, I did think it was interesting that he got a name. His name is Singh. Like I was like, I respected that. Like, at least this one gets a name. Not that much cannot be said for. We'll get there. And
Yes,
then
but
I just thought it was weird. He went,
Mr. Singh does not die in this episode.
okay, interesting. Okay, he doesn't. Okay,
He does
okay. I
not.
wasn't sure. I had several notes later on of, he doesn't come back though, does he?
No, but because he communicates and says that the probe has left, and he cannot do that if he's dead. So
Right, right. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, that answers a future question I had. Oh yeah, they've effectively brought a ticking time bomb of a murder bot on onto the ship, and I thought again, once again, I'm always going to appreciate decent, fun special effects of the 1960s. The floating effect was fun, and they did a good job of it. Always looked convincing. Like, obviously, they're using wires to move it,
I
but
was
you
looking for
never saw them.
strings, man. I was
I
looking
was.
for
I
them.
absolutely was looking for strings. I
I
never
didn't
saw
see
them.
any.
No.
I did not, and
But to be fair,
I checked because we watched the Paramount Plus version, which has been updated with CGI. But I looked in the original version. I couldn't see strings there either.
oh, you didn't. Okay, I was gonna say because it could have been facelifted with some
Considering some of the other
um
special effects we've seen,
CGI.
I don't know that they would have gone to the trouble.
True, but also, I mean, if they're going through, it would have been easier to remove strings with uh
But
modern
yeah,
day. And if you're going through
kudos.
do all the ships anyway, yeah, kudos for the night again for the 1960s. Impressive effect because it's fun. Okay, I have another note here that's related to Doctor Who. I said it's a shame. Once again, it's a shame you don't watch Doctor Who because there's a bunch of stuff that reminded me of Doctor Who. But there's a joke in the modern version of Doctor Who. Are you familiar with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
I am.
There is a note. There's a for the radio play. They did an entry for the Daleks into the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and its biggest weakness is stairs because it can't go upstairs because it kind of looks similar to this. It's big and bulky and it looks like a salt and pepper shaker. And so in the newer remake of Doctor Who, there's a big moment where they get to stairs and it looks like it's not going to be able to go up the stairs and it starts to go elevate. It starts to float because now the show can afford CGI. And so the fact that this thing's floating around other science fiction, contemporary science fiction shows, because Doctor Who is very much a 1960s science fiction show, just like this, it just is in Britain. So that thing couldn't float, but this can. So I was like, for the 1960s, I'm gonna give it its kudos. Like, impressive effect.
For those of you that thought Uhura's song sounded familiar, you would be correct. This is the same song that she sings to entertain Lieutenant Riley in the episode The Conscience of the King, which our episode
I
was,
did recognize it.
I believe it was Shakespeare in Space
Yes, I
was
believe
our
so.
episode title.
I did recognize it. I was like, why? It did hit my ear. I was like, why do I recognize this? That makes sense.
The lines from Nomad, "What is the meaning?" and "What is singing?" were sampled in the song "Come With Me" by the Information Society in their 1990 album. So the
Really?
actual lines from this episode were sampled in that song. So Star Trek influencing yet another band, although this seems to be a single song. And then you brought up Mr. Singh, and I asked myself, is Mr. Singh our first on screen Indian crew member? He is our first on screen Indian crew member, but he is not our first on screen character of
No. Well, I
Indian
mean, I
descent.
immediately went, what's his face? Khan. Khan's last name is Singh.
Arriving on the bridge to make inquiries, it asks Uhura to think about music while probing her mind, which erases her memory. When Scotty tries to intervene, Nomad kills him. Yet another righteous backflip from Jimmy doing stunt double.
Yeah, it's again pretty impressive. In regards to Nomad, I meant to bring up its English, how it speaks, because I have a note for this later. This is a question. The voice actor, was he on set? Do you know?
I
Is
do
that in
not
your
know.
notes? Because that would be my question. Was it done in post or was it done? Because I
would imagine it was done in
have
post.
questions about that later. But how can you an uncoordinated fact? That sounded wrong to me. Like I was like, does he mean like an unsubstantiated fact? Like I don't know how a fact could be uncoordinated. Like when I think of someone being, and I even Googled it. I Googled uncoordinated fact, and the AI in Google was like, it's a fact that's very clumsy. And I was like, that doesn't seem like that's
It
grammatically
feels
correct.
unnecessarily not vague. How do we say? It seems like a lopsided definition.
Yeah, yeah. Or when he was like non sequitur, and I thought that I just like his vocal pattern. I was like that some of that grammar doesn't seem right. But I'm like again, he's a machine. He doesn't know that. I have a note that just says, "Turns out the murder bot is also a little bit sexist."
What'd you do to her?
That unit is defective. Its thinking is chaotic. Absorbing it unsettled me.
That unit is a woman.
A mass of conflicting impulses.
A little bit. Well,
he's like, I couldn't do it. It's because he's a woman. Because he's a woman.
The crew
like, oh no.
Help. But anyway, because I have a note on
Crew
that.
did not help.
Upon learning that Kirk cannot repair Scott, Nomad offers to repair him. Nomad heals Scott but cannot repair Uhura's memory loss. Nomad is taken to the brig. And that unit is a woman is one of the simultaneously most cringe and hilarious lines I've come across in this series to date. And
I mean,
you have to understand
her is a unit.
if you haven't seen the episode yet, you have to understand the context in which this line was uttered, because it is a response to Nomad basically complaining that he couldn't understand Uhura's thoughts because they were all over the place.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then I think is it McCoy or Scott or Spock who says that unit is a woman. And I'm just like, wow.
Okay. I have a series of notes about this. I mean, beyond he's little. The robot's a little sexist. So obviously, Scotty not permanently dead, right? We know that. We know Scotty's gonna come back by the end of the episode. But I just thought that everyone's reaction to him being dead was weird and cold. Like from their perspective, this is a friend who is not coming back. Like we know he is, the audience knows he is, but they don't. And just the way they like callously like firemen carried his body away. I was just like this feels disrespectful. It feels like they're disrespecting Scotty's body.
Well, he is even though he's a high-ranking officer, he is still wearing a red shirt.
That's so funny you said that. See, this is why we do a podcast together, Jake, because that was my next question. Does it count as a red shirt death? He technically died. He's technically wearing a red shirt.
I'm going to say no because he's resurrected.
He is resurrection. Okay. That's my next question. This is a medical question for you, Jake. Dear God, I'm so sorry about the pronunciation. What is a hyperencephalogram? I practiced this 3 times.
I believe that's a brain scan.
Is it is an encephalogram a brain scan? I wasn't sure if that was like I was in so many times on this show, not this show, but the Star Trek show.
Yes, an image, trace, or other record of the structure or electrical activity of the brain.
So it's just a fancy way of saying brain scan.
It's a very specific brain scan, though, because it's mapping out the entire pathway.
Did they have? This makes me feel stupid asking this. They obviously had brain scans in the 1960s.
Probably not to the degree that we do now, but
not like a CT scan, but something really basic. Ah, interesting.
I would imagine.
Because a lot of times on this show, I go, is this a real thing or is this a Star Trek thing? And 9 times out of 10, you go, no, Justin, it's just a Star Trek thing. So I thought a hyperencephalogram was a fake Star Trek procedure. So I wasn't 100% sure if it was a real thing. And I refused to Google anything on this show because Jake will do it for me.
To be fair, it may not have been a thing yet, but somebody who invented the actual procedure was a Star Trek fan, and we're like, hey, remember that episode where Scotty dies and they have to bring him back, but Dr. McCoy orders the encephalogram?
Let's just call it that. So about Scotty coming back from the dead. The first note about that is just call my boy, call him Jesus because my boy Scott just rose from the dead.
I was just kind of surprised that the first question out of everybody's mouth wasn't like, well, Scotty, what happens?
Right? Yeah, what would you see at the end of this? McCoy gets mad. He says that Scott isn't a biological unit that can just be patched together, except for he very much was a biological unit that just got patched together.
I have several notes about what happens to Uhura. So we've established that Nomad cannot repair her brain damage because her brain, in fact, was not damaged. It was simply her memories were erased. So my note is verbatim: you're going to re educate a galaxy renowned linguist and communications expert with hooked on phonics?
Okay, the scene where it's the nurse like reading to her. I don't know how to put it, but it felt weird. I don't know. I'm just like, why did it have to be Uhura? Like, why couldn't it have been Nurse Chapel that got? It just, I'm not that I'm implying anything. It just was weird that he went right for Uhura. And I don't know. The sequence of her reading to her felt, I don't want to say condescending. I don't know how to describe it, but it just gave me weird vibes.
I don't think it was meant to be condescending, but I agree. The whole thing was, it was very strange.
It
And
was
I
so
feel like,
strange.
to me, it seemed like two actresses that were trying to play it legitimately, but just couldn't
It
because
felt
it's
like
so dumb.
it felt like Nurse Chapel, Nurse Chapel, Nurse Chapel. Okay, good. I want to get the character's name wrong. It felt like they were going for maternal or like sisterly, but I've never seen these characters have a conversation prior to this moment, so it's not really working.
And not only that, why was LeVar Burton not performing this function?
I
Because he
mean,
is, in fact, the Enterprise's librarian. And
that's what I'm
why is
saying.
Nurse Chapel acting as a teacher? This doesn't make sense. Or
I,
at the very least, where is our sentient Jack Russell Terrier?
I,
Who should
I will say my favorite moment in that whole interaction between Nurse Chapel and O'Hara is when she goes Bluey, which is obviously, as we all know, a reference to an Australian animated show for children, which they haven't heard of yet, but their grandkids are gonna love it. Sorry, great grandkids?
depending on how old they were, grandkids. Probably
Grandkids. That's why
grandkids.
I was unsure. I
Well,
was like,
depending how old they are when they watch the show, because like for example, my mother was in college, her grandkids would watch Bluey. So yeah, if somebody was significantly older, they're great grandchildren. But yes,
the kids are
you're
gonna
right.
love it.
You're in the general
I
area.
felt like I was in the general. I wrote grandkids and then I went, great grandkids?
I took it as something where somebody just took a moment to point out the absurdity of the English language, which I will admit I do more often now because I have to explain certain quirks of English to my wife, and then she'd always ask me, "But why?" And I just go,
Yeah, I've
"English."
learned that I had a friend who English was her third language. She's from Ukraine, so she moved to Israel when she was a kid, so she spoke Russian, Ukrainian. I don't know what language they speak in Israel, so I'm not
They
I'm
speak
not
Hebrew and English.
Hebrew. She spoke Hebrew and she spoke English. And she said, functionally, Russian is the hardest to learn, but she said English is also tough because there's a lot of weird grammar or like words, weather, the word weather, stuff like that. Or I've heard people who learn English say that colloquialisms are the hardest thing to learn, which it is the truth.
Well, it stems from the fact that most of the words now in the English language do have roots from like your Romance languages, namely Latin, but the bulk of the words we use on a daily basis are Germanic in
This is
origin.
true.
So, and Old English grammar was a but it used to actually, believe it or not, we used to have more functional words, not quite to the same degree as like your what do they call them in Japanese? The article markers, like the wa and
Oh yeah.
yeah, those
I don't know what they're called, but I know what you're talking about. I'm learning
which
Japanese. I know exactly
I
what you're
gotta
talking about.
say, linguistically, love it.
Or like desu. It's like it usually means it's or like you put it at the end of like every
It's to
sentence pretty
be,
much.
it's to be,
Yeah,
right?
to be,
It's a
yeah.
verb. But another thing I love about Japanese functionally is just if you want to make it a question, add ka to the end.
Yeah, the thing I love about Japanese is how it's like I love it when you like when you're talking about a thing. Like if I'm talking about a person, then you don't have to add a bunch of extraneous words to like it's just it's understood that like you're talking about that thing. And yeah, it's context like their language is context sensitive. It's useful.
There are like I've always kind of if I was going to invent a language, I would have several elements of Japanese to it. Like for example, if you want to make something in question, you just put ha or there's an indicator sound at the end of a sentence that automatically makes it a question. And
Yes.
that's super easy. Unlike in English where you just change the word order and syntax. Obviously, we're talking about speaking, not writing down because you have the question mark. But I digress. That's the thing. But yeah, Old English used to have. They didn't serve the same function identically, but it was kind of similar. Where like you would only say a word this way under certain contexts, but it wasn't conjugation of a verb. It was like I don't know how to explain it because I'm not a professional linguist, but anyway, but when the grammar got changed around, it got even more confusing.
Yeah.
So English is if
It's
you
not a
grow up
fun language to learn, I've heard.
oh, it's a terrible language. I feel so sorry for people who have to learn English because I will say this about Spanish. Once you get the basics down, it just becomes a game of learning words. Because once you understand the grammar, which is not terribly, the other thing I love about Spanish is the fact that every letter gets pronounced so you don't have to guess.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Spanish for me is not difficult to learn because I am Canadian, and so we learned French in high school, and French and Spanish are very similar. They share a lot of grammatical similarities. So if you've learned French, it's like a Rosetta Stone. You can learn Spanish really easily. A lot of
See,
people like they
that wasn't the
swap
case
over
for
to.
me
Oh, interesting. Yeah, a lot of
because
people.
I learned French and Spanish was up
But are you learning French or French Canadian French? There's a
French.
yeah, so we're learning French Canadian French. There's a difference.
Oh, okay, I got you.
But there's a lot of grammatical similarities
That's
that like
true.
yeah, a lot of people
There's a lot of cognates. Like off the top of my head, the word for country is it's not spelled the same way, but it's pronounced very similar. You have país and pai.
like if you have do you have French immersion in America?
No,
You know what French immersion is?
I'm guessing it's
It's
the
pretty much what it sounds
immersion
like.
the
It's you
immersion
go
of
through
French into the
pretty much, yeah, you go to like there's a high school that was around the corner from my high school, and it's literally you take all your classes in French. So you take French math in French. And a lot of kids will take French immersion up to a certain year and just get sick to death of French and switch to Spanish and get A's in Spanish. That used to happen all the time
I
when I was
bet
in
they
high
have
school.
that in certain areas. Like probably, I'm not going to be surprised if that's more common in say like Louisiana, particularly New Orleans.
Wouldn't surprise
But
me.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure because like I know for a fact that you probably have Spanish is like you know how in Canada all your signs are in English and French.
Yes.
Well, here it's English and Spanish.
Yes. English and Spanish, yeah. It's not officially your second language,
Well, fun
but
fact, the United States does not have an official language.
not according to your government.
Well, they can do something.
They want you to have the Queen's English, which I think is funny. Anyways, Star Trek.
I'm surprised they haven't tried to rebrand the national language as American.
I wouldn't be surprised if they tried.
But
Um,
now we're continuing with the linguistic here. Nichelle Nichols frequently told a story of getting into a dispute with director Mark Daniels over the filming of this episode, as it had already been established that Uhura's first language was Swahili.
yes,
Uh,
I remember that.
Nichols believed that after her mind was erased, Uhura would revert to her first language. However, as Nichols herself did not speak Swahili, Daniels wanted Uhura to simply speak English. Nichols refused to, telling Daniels, quote, Nichelle Nichols doesn't speak Swahili, but Uhura does.
Good for her.
Gene Roddenberry was eventually brought in to settle the dispute, and he sided with Nichols. A linguist specializing in Swahili was then brought in to write the few lines of Swahili that are spoken in this episode.
Ah,
However, and this is my note, it's later established in Star Trek that universal translators are used by Starfleet personnel, so Uhura could literally speak any language that she wants, and people would hear it in whatever tongue they speak.
wait, like an internal like translator that they have internally?
It's in their brain, yes. It's a chip that's put into their brain.
Really? Oh, interesting. I guess that was their way of being like aliens just speak English. Shut up. Like that makes sense. That's a
Well,
function. That's
there's a rudimentary version that's a device that's used in Star Trek Enterprise that
uh,
Hoshi Sato uses and it helps her be
So
able to
like,
decode Klingon.
so is it like not Kirk? Oh my gosh, other guy I'm dressed as Spock. Is he just speaking Vulcan, and everyone just understands it as English?
Probably not, because Spock has spent so much time within the Federation system. But however, it's that would explain why, for example, in the previous episode, Amok Time, everyone can understand each other. The Vulcans would not, on their home planet, revert to English simply for the
Benefit
the
of
benefit of two Earthlings that aren't even technically supposed to be there.
Right. Oh, that's so interesting. See, I really like the fact that she spoke Swahili, and it's funny because
I
like
did too. I like that.
because we do this, that's one of those moments where I appreciate the commitment to the continuity. I was like, that's really cool. I'm like that. I respect that. I may not care for the scene all that much, but
I did
I
like that
I
part.
I I did like that part of it.
But I
But
love the
so
fact though that they say her memory is erased, right? But
yeah.
the character Uhura never stops to ask, "Where am I? Why am
Yeah,
I?"
she's well, it's weird. Like it seems like they're like her knowledge has been yeah, it was weird. She seems to know exactly who she maybe that stuff comes back first instantly, clicks back on, and that's the stuff that can like it kind of seemed like they were trying to be like, yeah, her brain just needs to be rebooted. Like that's kind of what it's been like. So like maybe it's not like starting from scratch, it's just shaking the loose. I don't know.
Maybe, but one more note on this. This is one of two times that Uhura's memory is erased. The other, and
Really?
this, I need you to pay attention to how I'm saying this because I'm actually quite proud. I actually had to think about this for a moment. The other will have been the Star Trek Strange New Worlds episode Among the Lotus Eaters from season two, I believe.
Will have been. Oh, so it's a time travel episode.
No, because it canonically takes place before this episode, but the
Right,
television
right.
show
Strange. I'm
doesn't
thinking. I'm
exist
thinking
yet.
Lower Decks.
Yep.
Right. Yes, that makes sense. Wait, she on Strange New Worlds?
Yep.
Really?
As is
Huh.
Spock, Kirk, Nurse Chapel.
Huh.
I don't know if Sulu's on it. That I don't know, but Uhura is absolutely on Strange New
Huh.
Worlds.
Okay. I mean, I have so many questions about Strange New Worlds. But what? That's.
There's going to be a lot of groaning when we finally get to Strange New
It does.
Worlds.
It does feel like it. This feels like there will be. So the prior to this Nurse Chapel, Uhura scene, there is a scene where Spock is trying to gain access to Nomad screens. And Spock just straight flirts with the robot. He's like, oh, he's no, sorry, this is the robot flirts with Spock. It's like I scanned his mind and he's the only mind we're scanning. And I'm like, everyone ends up flirting with Spock. But takes Kirk to get those screens down. So I'm saying everyone's dropping their screens for Kirk.
That's in his contract.
It's in his contract.
Everyone brings their screens down for the
They
captain.
gotta bring everyone brings the screen down for Kirk.
To uncover more information, Spock performs a mind meld with the machine, which I immediately thought, won't that let Nomad know that Kirk is not the creator? Because it's not Spock reading its mind, it's them sharing minds together. That's why it's called a mind meld and not a mind read. But clearly, the writers didn't think that
No.
far into it. But while doing the mind meld, he discovers that Nomad collided with a meteor and was severely damaged. It then wandered through space, finally coming into contact and merging with a powerful alien probe called Tonru, designed to obtain and sterilize soil samples from other planets. Nomad partially integrated Tonru's agricultural mission directives, interpreting them to mean sterilize imperfections. The merging of the two probes imbued Nomad with Tonru's vast powers, sufficient to destroy life throughout the entire solar system. Kirk compares Nomad's reincarnation to the Changeling legend, in which a human child is switched with a fairy child, with the latter assuming the identity of the former. This is not to be confused with Odo from Deep Space Nine, who was also a changeling, but a different kind of changeling.
Yeah, the transforming kind of changeling, I'm assuming.
Yeah, the changing kind of changing, not the
Yeah,
switching.
this is more like the Angelina Jolie movie Changeling. Ha! Nobody got that reference. Sorry, the Angelina Jolie directed by, oh my God, what's his name? He talked to a chair once. Oh,
Clint
oh,
Eastwood.
Thank you, Clint Eastwood, directed by Clint Eastwood.
Wow. That's a reference very few people will get.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that you got that reference. Nobody
I
remembers the time
remember
he
it
talked to the chair.
Oh, I remember it because I'm a Clint Eastwood fan, but even in that moment, I was kind of like, has he lost
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Oh, what do you mean, shut up?
I actually liked the movie The Changeling, but anyway, his analogy, while what he describes is technically accurate, I don't know that this is a changeling situation. It does not remind me of the situation he described because it wasn't like the robot got. It
There
didn't
wasn't a
connect for me.
replacement. There was a merger.
There was a merger. Yeah, I'm like, this isn't really a changeling. I don't really know where you're getting this analogy, Kirk. It's a good thing you're pretty.
Pretty loose, and I feel like that's something that Spock should have corrected him on. But I
Yeah.
guess Spock was probably like, not the time.
My favorite part is how Nomad's consent in the melding didn't matter. He was like, "You will meld." Sorry,
he gave his.
Did he give his consent? Oh, did he?
I mean,
Oh, okay. I
way.
didn't. I must have missed that.
His directive is to obey the creator, and the creator said, "You will allow the mind meld."
That's what I'm saying. His consent ultimately didn't seem to matter.
Wow, this is going to sound really bad, but I think I'm factually correct. Before a machine has sentience, is its consent a factor?
I suppose that is a fair point. That is a fair point.
It sounds real bad, but I'm not.
Sounds real bad.
I'm not talking about. I mean, you're on the borderline though, because it's not alive, but it
does it pass the Turing test. Do you think in this episode?
Remind me of the actual.
It's if it can convince you that it's. I believe. Hold on. Let's Google. I'm gonna be the one to Google. I'm gonna Google this time. Turing test. Turing test meeting. Let's do this. It's the test of the machine's ability to exhibit intelligent behavior indistinguishable from that of a human. So I guess it doesn't. By the end, it doesn't.
No.
It fails the Turing test. And then just shout out to Leonard Nimoy during the mind meld. He's the reason why I asked if the voice actor was on set, because Leonard Nimoy was nailing the cadence of the voice actor doing the robot. So it was like that's what made me go. So did he hear it, or is he just doing that off the cuff? Because if he's doing it off the cuff, that's impressive.
I don't know that talk like robot is really complicated direction.
No, but like it was the vocal inflection was it was very similar. Like it sounded like almost like the guy was dubbing over Leonard Nimoy. Like I was reasonably impressed. If he hadn't heard the voice. If he had heard the voice, then it's like, all right, yeah, that's easy enough to match. But yeah, that's where I was like, was he? And I'm like, do we have ADR voiceover yet? Is that a thing in the 1960s? Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen it in they did it in the episode What Are Little Girls Made Of when Rook replicates Shatner's voice.
Right.
So yes, we do in fact have it. Nomad escapes from its cell, killing 2 guards who attempt to stop it. What's that?
I just said dust off the redshirt counter because it's a 2-for-1. Get those air horns in there.
It's been so long. I had to look up our count.
I know you notice all those mothballs and dust clouds that are on our counter. It's thirsty for blood.
The probe makes its way to the engineering deck where it begins to make adjustments to the engines, accelerating the ship beyond its normal maximum warp speed. As Kirk arrives, Nomad tells him that the engine efficiency has been boosted 57%. Kirk orders it to reverse the changes since other structures on the Enterprise cannot handle the faster speed. Nomad complies. Physically not possible to be an issue.
Of course not.
Because I'm sure they didn't have this established at the time. Technically, warp speed is not a speed per se. It is simply a relative. God, as a non-physicist, this is going to be painful for any physicist that hears this. And please, if I get this wrong, correct me in the comments. But the way warp speed would actually work is you create a warp bubble around the ship, and then you bend space-time. So the ship doesn't actually, I mean, it moves, but it doesn't move in the sense like a car moves. You bend space-time around it and move it across a shorter space.
The second way to do it was done by Michael Bier, a friend of mine, who was watching Star Trek one day and noticed how the Enterprise zapped across space by contracting the space in front of you and expanding the space behind you so that you do not go to the stars come to you. So think of walking across a carpet. You can walk across the carpet, which is the long way, or you can contract and compress the carpet in front of you, expand the carpet behind you, and then simply hop over to the other side of the carpet. That is called the Alcubierre drive.
Now, I'm sure they didn't know that at the time, but
No.
Kirk need not. Maybe if they had changed, if they were going to remake this show verbatim, they would have to change this around because physicists today would be like, actually.
Actually, I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson. I'm going to ruin this for you.
Well, to be fair, I'm sure physicists at the time would have been like, well, actually, to achieve optimal, faster than light speeds, all matter would have to break down and dematerialize into light without some sort of protective bubble.
And then other ones would be like, nerd!
Exasperated by Nomad's prejudice toward imperfect biological units, Kirk points out that its own creator is a biological unit. Nomad responds that it must re-evaluate. Kirk then orders the probe back to the brig, and it departs under security guard. Spock then suggests to Kirk that admitting to Nomad that he, the creator, was imperfect was probably a mistake. Spock also observes that because Nomad has threatened to return to its launch point, Earth and all its inhabitants are now at risk of sterilization. En route to the brig, Nomad kills its 2 security escorts. Double. I
got another, the redshirt massacre. We got 4 in this episode.
Do I hear 4?
4? Is that 4? Oh, that's got to be 4. Oh.
So we have, in one episode, we have double our redshirt casualties.
I'm just saying.
We're now at 8.
But and that's where I asked. Wait, see, I thought I didn't see Singh come back, so I wasn't sure if he bit it as well. So I was like, does he count as a redshirt death? But you're like, nah, he survived. So I thought we had 5, but 4 is still pretty solid.
Nomad then heads to sickbay for some reason. After examining Kirk's medical files and verifying his imperfections as a biological unit, Nomad's re-evaluation is complete. It proceeds to engineering, incapacitates crew members, and shuts down the ship's life support systems, thus rendering the Enterprise habitable for only a short time longer. Well, everyone, it's time to pay for the episode by telling you about... It's time to tell you about Paramount Plus, the bestest, most awesomest streaming service that's out there. But today, you don't have to listen to us tell you about it because, big announcement, it's been on for a few weeks now, but George and Mandy's First Marriage Season 2 has premiered, and it is available to stream on Paramount Plus. So
really?
Take a look.
McAllister Tires under new management.
What's the name?
Dr. Tire. Irvin and I disagree about everything.
There's only 2 of us, and somehow we manage.
But I can't act all sexy to get my way with Ruben.
You think that works with me?
I know it works with you.
Damn it.
Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage. New season returns CBS next Thursday, 8/7 Central, and streaming on Paramount Plus.
Actually, it's really funny because this episode reminds me a lot of a slasher movie. And you know what's on Paramount Plus conveniently? All the Terrifier movies. If you're looking for a slasher. Yeah, I watched Terrifier 3 on Paramount Plus last night.
Well, that's just another reason to...
If you want to just be upset and uncomfortable for 2 hours, it's there on Paramount Plus.
Hey, I don't know. It is October now. Or it was October. It's not October now. It was October. I'm going to scratch that. Hey, maybe people like those kinds of things.
It's true. They're not. Jordan tried to make the case that they were exclusively Halloween related. I went, nah, you could watch an evil clown tear up bodies mid-December if you wanted to. I don't know why you would, but you could.
I mean, isn't there a scene where he's in a Santa outfit?
Technically speaking, the third one's a Christmas movie.
Hey, Santa, looks like you got some competition. It's Clowny Claus.
No, hey, you're a natural. You look good, but don't get it dirty and remember to give it back. You know what you get on Santa's naughty list.
See, there you go. That's Christmassy.
Technically speaking,
La, la,
in
la,
like
la, 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 la.
in like a Black Christmas kind of way. But it's all again all on Paramount Plus. I watched it on Paramount Plus.
Kirk arrives and again confronts the probe, questioning it about its mission. When Nomad declares that its directive to sterilize imperfections allows no exceptions, Kirk points out that Nomad itself is imperfect, since it has mistaken Captain Kirk for its true creator, Jackson Roy Kirk. Spock's face in this moment is hilarious because he's just like, Captain, what are you doing?
What are you doing here? What's going on?
He then claims that Nomad has committed two other errors. First, by not discovering its own mistake, and then by not sterilizing itself as imperfect. Nomad begins to analyze the implications of Kirk's claims, a process that causes noticeable stress to its systems. Kirk and Spock carry Nomad in a rush to the transporter room and, with a final command from Kirk to exercise your prime function, beam it into deep space. Seconds after transporting it, an explosion is detected near the Enterprise and Nomad is destroyed. Kirk is exceptionally good at wrecking computers.
I'm just saying he once again talked another computer into killing itself.
This is now the fourth time Kirk has done so, and literally
Really?
talk a computer to death. This technique is also used in the episode Return of the Archons, which for our episode was the Purge 2267.
Yeah, I knew that he had talked to a computer. I didn't realize it was 4 times. I knew at least one other
okay,
time he had talked a
actually-
computer into killing itself.
Actually, this is the third time. No, this is one of 5 times. This is the third time we've seen it. He will do so again in the episode I Mud. Yes, Harcourt Fenton Mud makes a return.
Excited for that.
He will also do so in the season 3 episode, The Ultimate Computer, or maybe it's a season 2 episode, I'm not sure. And then technically, if you count What Are Little Girls Made Of, when Kirk talked the robots into fighting among themselves. So I guess he's done it to a literal computer 4 times, but if you count androids as computers, it will be 5 times.
Because like I recognize that this trope, this episode specifically, like I recognize the trope of like you're up against an AI and you logic the AI into killing itself. Like I've seen that scene in so many, like the one that for whatever reason this is another obscure reference, but there's a point and click game starring Christopher Lloyd called Toonstruck. It's one of those Christopher Lloyd gets sucked into a cartoon world kind of games. It's for the DOS. But one of the sections is you have to, same deal here. You have to convince the computer that it is being illogical and then it blows itself up. It's the same thing. So I'm like, I guess this must be the origin point of that trope of the computer logics itself into killing itself. I recognize it.
I'm pretty sure once you had the concept of a machine that could learn that, because that to me honestly is the difference between a robot and an android. Because an android, or not even an android, a sentient artificial intelligence, if you will, because that is capable of learning, and part of learning is understanding that there is no such thing as an absolute. There is always an exception.
Yep.
Because logic cannot exist without illogic.
Yeah, exactly. The balance. You can't have one without the other.
Well, and plus we learn new things all the time, like even in physics. Like turns out there are particles that exist simultaneously on 2 different planes of existence. Something that is theoretically not possible because, as the old adage, you can't be in 2 places at once. Turns out when you're a certain type of subatomic particle, you can.
You can. Science.
Science rules.
Science rules. Science is fun, kids.
Even though it gives me a headache sometimes.
But that's how you know the science is working.
But I'm not a smart man. I'm wearing gold. I'm not supposed to be smart.
I'm technically supposed to be the smart one. And I'm not.
I don't know. You could be a doctor.
I could be a doctor. That is true. Not a doctor. That's a reference you only get if you watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
The episode ends on a humorous note with Kirk observing that he is proud of his son, Nomad. Having healed Mr. Scott, he would have made a good doctor.
Yeah, he kept. I just thought it was weird that Kirk kept referring to himself as its mother.
Yeah,
I don't really know where he was getting that from. Why couldn't he have been the machine's daddy?
I can't answer that because I thought the same thing. I was like, mother,
Why mother?
maybe. Hey, Kirk lives in 2267. Maybe Kirk identifies as gender fluid. I don't believe
Also,
that for a second, but
Kirk, you didn't make the thing. You found it.
he's an adoptive mother.
Okay, that's true. He is adopted. Okay, no, I'll give you that. I'll give you
Justin, are
that.
you implying that an adoptive mother is not a real mother?
No, but
Because
Kirk
there is
keeps
a
implying
face
that he created it. You
because
didn't
there is a
create it.
Facebook group that will have your number if you're making that implication.
No, I would
Probably two
never
or
imply
three.
that. I'm all for adoption. I'm just saying in this context, Kirk keeps implying that he created it, and you didn't create it, Kirk. You found it in space.
I feel like in this custody hearing, Kirk would have been like Dewey Cox and been like, actually, custody was thrust upon me.
Exactly.
At the end of this episode, Kirk makes that doctor joke, and that's funny because Kirk will go on to have a son who will become a doctor, albeit not a medical one, and he will learn
That's
about
pretty
his
funny.
existence 15 years later.
It's really funny. Oh, I see. This is what sometimes I regret not writing the context of it. But Kirk, gosh, Kirk says something to Spock at the end, and then he's like something about Kirk is like, "You could have lied to me, Spock." Spock says something, and the Kirk has a face like, "You could have just lied. Could have lied to make me feel better. You seem capable of that." Was this episode bad? This felt like it was bad.
It was mediocre. I would. It's certainly no. It's certainly no Lazarus.
Because that's just my final note was this bad? This felt bad. This didn't feel good.
Maybe I didn't view it as bad because it was no Lazarus, but it wasn't so bad it was good like the previous episode.
True. True, that's true. And
This one
also
was
the
just
episode
good and this one was just good enough to suck on its own merit.
it had some qualities to it that I liked, but there were some leaps in logic here. It also ends on another Star Trek sitcom moment.
It absolutely does.
Laugh track abound.
My congratulations, Captain. Dazzling display of logic.
You didn't think I had it in me, did you, Spock?
No, sir.
This episode shares many of the same elements as the Outer Limits episode, The Probe, from 2 years earlier in 1965.
I recognize the name. I don't know a ton about the Outer Limits, but I
It's a
recognize the name.
sci-fi anthology show.
Kind of like a proto Twilight Zone.
Actually, I think the Twilight Zone was first, but in same vein.
Same idea. Oh, okay, interesting. Oh. I recognize the name.
Or was the Outer Limits the one where the guy always travels back to the past? Am I
Isn't
getting
that
those
Quantum
shows?
Leap?
That's Quantum Leap. Yep, that's the one I'm looking for. So hang on, just so the sci-fi nerds, which by the way, I almost forgot about this, but to the person, and normally I let these comments go, but this one was particularly ill-spirited. How should I say? These aren't jammies. This is uniform. Or I believe Jim Jams was actually the term that you used. And sir,
What?
yeah,
Jim
it says
Jabs?
we can't talk about this without wearing our Star Trek Jim Jams. And sir, I will have you know that this uniform is a symbol of pride because people who actually take pride in what they do, oftentimes will wear some sort of identifying uniform as an homage to what they're talking about. My Star Trek jammies are when I go night night and don't think about pricks like you at all. Well, we have reached the end of the episode and we have doubled our red shirt casualty number to 8. Wow, one
That's
episode.
just so funny how it leaped up like by 4. I was happy to see 2. I was shocked to see 4.
I had
When the second set happened, I was like, "Holy, what's this happening?"
Really?
Yeah, same. I was like, I thought generously we might get 1. I was not expecting 4. It was it's just a delight to see those guys get
figured we were going to get
exterminated. Yeah, right.
Well, next time on The Final Frontier, we are going to be looking at the fan favorite episode, Mirror, Mirror. And Justin, I'm sure you're going to get this one because this episode is known even
I mean, it's clearly the
outside.
Mirror Universe episode, right?
Correct. So, Justin,
Yeah,
would you like to take
yeah.
a stab at what's going to happen in Mirror,
Well,
Mirror?
Okay, this is unfair because I actually know about this episode. But isn't it evil Spock and potentially evil Kirk I don't know for sure. I think that's it. I think it's just the two of them. We don't see any other evil guys, to my
Oh
knowledge.
no, we see
They
a
come.
ton more evil guys.
Oh, do we? Okay, so do we get? I'm okay. Then maybe a whole evil crew, evil Uhura, evil Sulu, evil Bones. They're
I
invading
will
our
leave it at
universe.
this. I will. Well, no, actually, technically, we invade their universe accidentally.
Oh, okay. I thought it
So
was they came to our universe.
nope. In this one, actually, I take that back. In Star Trek, it's always this universe that goes to the mirror. No, that's not true. Because in Star Trek Enterprise, I believe the mirror universe comes into our universe as well. At some point, they have a great two-part episode in Enterprise dealing with the mirror universe. It's
Yes,
fantastic.
it's the one my dad often brings up.
It's really really good. No, but we get to see Evil Sulu. It's a lot of fun.
I need to know. Is it just Spock who has the goatee, or do they all have facial hair? Because that would make me laugh.
It is just Spock.
Delightful.
Join us next week
Anyway,
when we look at Mirror Mirror, and we will
I'm
see
excited.
you guys. We will see you guys next week. But until then, subscribe to Paramount Plus, like, share, and subscribe, and of course, watch long and prosper.
Subscribe long and prosper.
That too. If you subscribe, you will live longer and prosper more.
It's true.
I can't. I'm not a doctor. I can't say that for sure, but I mean, it can't hurt.
I am, and I can. Wait, no, I'm Spock. I'm not the doctor. Never mind. Dang it. The analogy doesn't work. The evil versions of them all are pretty much the same. There's nothing identifiably different about them.
It is important to point out that Sulu says their assassinations would leave him in command. He's wrong.
I only know the one where they find or they take over the ship from the Prime universe, and they steal the uniforms, and it's just Archer being like, ah.